Hey everyone. In this video today I'm going to show you how to put together the HappyRun G60 Pro e-bike. There's a lot of things that aren't covered in the instructions and I'm going to touch on those things for you today. These same instructions can be used to put together the regular G60. You just won't have the turn signal and stuff, but a lot of it will be the same. Let's start with the unboxing. Alright, for a lot of this video it is better to have two people working with it, and the way I've done it here is to open up the bottom first and then we'll pull it off from the top. And you can lift it off and then one of you can kind of reach down and grab it, keep it from falling over. And then just start taking stuff off. All right, and make sure you hold it while you pull this apart. And you'll notice the tire here in this one half. And if you balance these forks perfectly in the middle, it'll stand by itself. But just watch out for the handlebars. They are connected by wires, but just kind of leave them balanced there. And that's going to be one of the first things we assemble, actually. We'll get the tire out just to get this stuff out of the way here. Got our headlight. All right, let me briefly go over everything that they sent us here in this box. You got your instructions. These are good for like a drink coaster, or if you're gonna have like a fire outside and in a fire pit, you can take these pieces and wad them up and get your fire started with that. That's pretty much all these are good for. This here is your disc for your brakes, for the front brakes. Comes with a lock, which is pretty cool. These are the front turn signals. We'll get to those later. These are the pedals. Personally, I won't be using those a lot. And this is the axle for the front tire. And then it comes with two of these little keys. These are for the battery to keep it locked in. And then it comes with this little bag of tools which contains pretty much everything you need to put the bike together. The only thing I would say that you need in addition to that is maybe a rubber mallet, and I'll get to why with that later. And I like to use a pair of wire cutters for just getting off all these zip ties here and stuff. And the first thing you want to get started with, in my opinion, is get out the battery charger here, which is also in that box. And so you can get it charging while you're putting it together. All right, let's start off here getting this thing unwrapped a little bit. Just start snipping away at the zip ties and getting this protective stuff out of the way. Be careful, you don't want to scratch, and be especially careful not to cut any wires. And hey, while we're at it, let's jump straight to the battery and get that charging before we even finish unboxing everything else, unpackaging everything else. Grab your key there. Just turn the key like that, full turn. And then reach underneath it here and just kind of gently pull up like that until you feel it come loose, and then you can take it out. The battery does have an on-off switch. You want to make sure it's in the off position, which it should be already. And then right here next to the on-off switch is where you plug in the charger, right there. So let's get that charging while we put this thing together. Okay, while it's balanced here, the first thing we're gonna do, and a lot of things in this video are a lot easier with two people. So if you can get a second person to help you, it will definitely make your life easier. The first thing we're gonna do here while it's balanced on the front forks is hook up the shock absorber. It comes unhooked so that the bike can be compressed more so it'll fit in the box, but that's kind of one of the first things you need to do. So to do that, get a second person if possible, pull that up right there. Get that protective stuff out. Take this thing off right here, and then the bolt you need is already in the shock. All you have to do is take it off, which you can do with your hands. Don't lose that washer, and then pull that out, and then let it back down until you get it lined up. Put the bolt back through. It has some blue stuff on it, some blue thread lock, so it might make it a little difficult at times, but it's good because it'll hold it there after you get it in. So just get into your bag of tools here. There's two of these Allen wrenches. Have someone hold one on the other side and then hold one on this side. So you can get at it like this while someone's balancing it for you, just making sure it stays stable. And you can use these two Allen wrenches to tighten this up. Nice and tight, but don't over tighten it. All right, so you got the shock absorber hooked up. All right, let's do the handlebars. For that, the first thing you'll do is unscrew these four bolts here. You gotta take them completely out. They give you all the hand tools for this, but this is definitely one point where it would be quicker to have some power tools. All right, take this off, and this can go either way, so you don't have to keep it a certain way. All right, you should be able to get the handlebars and kind of twist them around so that the wire's in front. If yours may have to be flipped over, but don't do it in such a way that you're twisting the wires. Do it the way that they naturally should be. All right, so I found the easiest thing to do here is to sit on the bike, and you want to get these centered. You can tell because there's a little thicker spot in the middle, so you should be able to tell by that where the center is. And then when you're tightening these up, the best way to do it is to go diagonally first and then do the other two diagonally, and then basically you just want to keep going around and around and retightening them until they're fully tightened. You'll notice that as you tighten one set of them diagonally, then the other set becomes looser and it needs to be tightened in. These things have to be really tight to keep your handlebars from rocking back and forth.
It's not centered.
So once you get the handlebars nice and tight in the front, there is one thing. These come from the factory like this, but you might notice that like there's less of a gap on this side and a bigger gap on this side. It's because the handlebars aren't mounted properly on this swivel here. What you need to do is actually loosen up these two bolts here, and then you're gonna turn the handlebars a little bit until this lines up with this, and then it'll be a lot more centered and accurate. All right, get those both loosened up. and then turn those just a little. You see there? Now they're perfectly centered. All right, now this is something you're gonna wanna really tighten up good here. You don't want that coming loose while you're riding. Don't break it though. All right. Okay, at this point, the easiest thing to do in order to get the front tire on is to flip the bike over. So it's good if you have someone to help you here. Let's get this thing flipped over. All right, so get the front tire out and lay it with the side up that has all these little screws right here, and you'll need to take those screws out. All right, got all those out. And now you want to get your disc for your brakes, for the disc brakes. And you want them to go the way that has this stamp here, 160E, facing outwards. Get it lined up on there, and then use those same screws to put it back in. All right, this is another kind of situation where when you're tightening something down, you don't just want to tighten them all in a row. You want to kind of try to tighten the ones across from each other, give it a little jiggle there, and then tighten the others. Keeps it nice and balanced. It doesn't put any stress on one part of the metal in particular. All right, so this should have come in that box with the other stuff. This is what you're going to use next. So leave this bigger side on, but take off all the stuff on the smaller side. You'll have this bolt and washer, and then you have this other, this nut and washer, and then you have this other nut and a couple other little things here. You'll definitely want to put those back in the same order. All right, so remember when I mentioned that you might need a rubber mallet for this? This is where. So when this goes in, you put that in there as far as you can, and it kind of gets stuck about right there. So at that point, it's nice to have a rubber mallet, and you'll notice I can just tap this in. Having to give it a pretty good hit, but it's going in. You need to get that in there so everything will fit up correctly on the other side. All right, there we go. I think that got it. As you can see, that thing's all the way up in there now. By comparison, you want to kind of get it like the other side here. All right, now what you're going to do is put this stuff back on. A little spacer first, then the little plastic piece. It goes around that spacer. And then this guy here, the little one, the little nut. And you probably want to go ahead and tighten that one up. All right, and to tighten this one up, you need to get both of these 17s, and you need to put one of them on this side, and you can hold the other one on the other side and get both of those smaller nuts tightened up at this point. And you can do them at the same time there till you feel that they're both nice and tight. All right, hold off on putting this on. In fact, what you want to do at this point is take the one off of the other side. Okay, so come on up here to the front of the bike, and you see this axle looking thing that's already here? What you can do with that is throw it away, because this is not even used. This is just to keep the forks at a good distance and keep them from bending during shipment. So you won't even use this. You can totally get rid of that. All right, a very important step here is to pull out this thing that's protecting your brake clamp. That's trash. All right, so tighten up these inner nuts on each side, and then get it and just slide it in where the disc goes into the brake calipers. And then you can put this washer on. And the bolt. The one on the other side loosely, and just tighten them up a little at a time. That's it for the front tire. Now, while it's still upside down, let's go ahead and do the pedals and the kickstand. All right, so the pedals are specific. You have right and left, and they're threaded differently, so they do need to go on the correct side. So since the bike's upside down, this is the right side. I'm gonna do the right one first. .16mm wrench. All right, on to the left one. So the left one is actually threaded in reverse. So you will turn this one counterclockwise to tighten it. And that's done that way so that the pedal doesn't come off while you're riding. All right, pedals are nice and tight. Now onto the kickstand. The kickstand already has the hardware for it right there. You just need to take these out. Don't lose the little washer and lock washer. All right, so this is gonna go behind the bracket. Hand tight. All right, and that's all we need to do while it's upside down. Now we're gonna flip it over to finish. So the only thing we need to put on the back of the bike is the turn signals and the brake light. So get those, and you can take off that protective piece there. And you'll need the 8mm wrench for this. Pretty easy to put this on. Just undo this hardware here. And then put it through there. And then put the nuts back on. And then you're going to want to center it. Get it perfectly centered. Tighten them up. The wrench go in here. All right, and then to hook up the electrical, and you can always tell with these electrical connections because they're all color coded. This one happens to be black, but on the front ones we'll do in a minute, you'll see. And so they don't just plug straight in. They have a little piece in there that only allows them to go in a certain way. So you don't want to force it. You want to look very closely for that part sticking out on there, and then you want to look very closely on the other piece for the part where there's a little notch for the insert. And then once you get that lined up perfectly, just snap them in, snap it together. All right, the next things we're gonna do is to mount the headlight and the turn signals on these brackets here. So if this is like this and the wire's in the way, you can just lift this up and then turn it this way and then slide it back down. These are gonna be all the way on the bottom. They need to be spaced apart the amount of the width of the headlight. So what you can do is go ahead and get the headlight. Take that off, keep that rubber washer. And just take this guard and you can kind of put it in place here and see where you need to get these. And then tighten these up. All right, and then get your turn signals. Take the plastic stuff off of them. Take this nut off. Put it through this hole closest to the frame. Okay. Make sure it's angled parallel to the ground. Size 14. The other one. So now get your headlight. This part goes at the top. As best I can tell, you want to put this rubber washer right up against this thing to protect the plastic there. So it's kind of tricky. You want to put that in place and then line up the frame for the headlight guard. Like that, right? All right, you can adjust this as needed, but I recommend having it just point slightly downwards. You might go a little further downwards if you'd rather have the light immediately right in front of you. And that's it for the headlight. We're gonna put the fender on now, and then we'll hook all the electrical stuff up. So this goes this way with the short part in front. And the hardware's already on there, and there's a washer and a nut and a bolt. So you just kind of line it up there, push that through, and then. All right, once you get that thing tight, you can kind of straighten your tire out here, and you can tweak it. Tweak it in the front and in the back as needed, and it'll even go separate ways. And then tighten it up a little more after you get it exactly how you want it, although it will turn when you're trying to tighten it. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna hook up all the electrical stuff, the headlight and the turn signals and the control panel and everything. So out of the 2 turn signals, you'll notice one of them has a little red band on it. You would think red is right, but that is not correct. Red is left. So your left turn signal goes to the one with the red band. So as I mentioned before, just line up the key there and then snap it in. Now for the right one. All right, so now for the headlight. Okay, and there's 2 of them for the control panel. There's a green one and a black one. So the green one hooks up here. And the black one hooks up right here. And the black one doesn't seem to go in all the way. I think it is in all the way, but it has a little gap there that makes you think it's not. Anyways, I can't get the black one to go in anymore. And this actually came a few days later. I wasn't even clear on whether it was part of the order or not, but apparently they just ship it separately. This is the cargo rack that goes on the back. I'm glad this was part of it. It comes with a couple Allen wrenches and some attachments here. I'm glad these were included because to purchase them separately, they're like 80 bucks a piece. It's a nice little cargo rack. All right, there you go. And last but not least in the box was this little cap, and I can only guess that it goes right here. All right, you ready to put the battery on and test out your e-bike now? All right, I'm not going to give you a full review of the bike here, but I do want to at least show you how to get it started. First thing you need to do is, install your battery and come over here and turn the power button on, which is back that way towards the battery. And then to start it, you hold down the start button for a few seconds. Just push it until you hear and hold it until you hear a beep. And then you have to use the NFC card right here to get it going. All right, so it has 7 gears, just like a regular bicycle, but it also has 5 levels of power assist. It's in 4 right now. To cycle through the various levels, you hit the green button. It's on 5 now. It's on 0, which means it won't do any power assist. On 1 is the smallest amount, and if you turn the gas there, it'll go. To switch back and forth between the odometer and the trip meter, hit the start button 3 times. And then it'll flip to odometer. This one's got 11 miles on it so far. And then hit it 3 more times. It'll flip back to the trip meter. The trip meter resets itself automatically every time. I will tell you, this has an awesome feature, a cruise control feature. When you are going a steady speed for more than a few seconds, you'll hear it beep, and an indicator will come on right here showing you that it's in cruise control mode. And then of course you have your actual speedometer and a meter here telling you how much power is left in the battery. I pretty much leave this on 7th gear most of the time and leave it on power assist level of 5. But if you don't want to go that fast, that's what the other settings are for. And right over here we have your headlight and then turn signals. And so it'll beep as long as it's on, letting you know it's on. And then you have to turn it off manually. And then there's the horn. It's got a pretty powerful little horn. Front brake, rear brake, and I think that about covers it.